The Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Those persons not entitled to the privilege of the floor will please retire to the gallery. The senators in attendance will stand and be led in prayer by the Reverend Calvin Duncan, Faith and Family Church of Richmond, Virginia. All will stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America by Lindley Griffin, our Senate calendar clerk.
Let us pray. Our Father in heaven, gracious God, you are the supreme being of the universe. You are Elohim, the creator of all things in the heavens and the earth, all wise and eternal God. We come to you today thanking you for the many blessings you have bestowed on all of us. We thank you for the very air we breathe. We ask that you breathe on this meeting this afternoon. We ask for your guidance and your direction. Grant us the wisdom and words. Give all of those who participate in this meeting discernment and insight to handle the affairs of this great Commonwealth of Virginia. May you be pleased with our decisions to help better serve mankind. May our spirits be lifted up with faith, hope, and love. And now unto you who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that works on the inside of us. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk will call the roll. All those in attendance will please record their vote aye. Clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Senate Journal for Tuesday, February 11th, 2020.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 2.
Ayes 36, noes 2. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the House of Delegates. The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I move that we waive the reading of the communications from the House of Delegates.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the communication from the House of Delegates be waived? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 3.
Ayes 35, noes 3. The reading of the communication from the House of Delegates is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the governor.
I do not have any, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Sergeant at Arms, Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend the rules and grant the privileges of the floor to special persons.
Thank you, Senator. Question is, shall the rules be suspended and the privileges of the floor be granted to distinguished persons? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, noes 0. The rules are suspended. The privileges of the floor are granted. The chair recognizes the senator from Henrico, Senator Dunham, for the purposes of presenting the distinguished guests.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Outstanding Virginian Award was established over 30 years ago and is considered the highest civilian honor the Commonwealth can award. Since established in 1983, we've acknowledged philanthropists, leaders in higher education, civil rights advocates, and historians, to name a few. Today, it is my great honor to welcome Mr. Bill Goodwin and his wife Alice as we recognize him as the Outstanding Virginia of 2020 and thank him for his leadership in supporting higher education and countless other organizations that have enriched Virginia. Thank you so much for your service. And now, while we would never be able to fully express in a resolution your accomplishments, we do have a resolution to share with you.
Clerk will read the resolution.
Senate Resolution Number 24, commending William H. Goodwin, Jr. Whereas William H. Goodwin, Jr., a respected leader of the Virginia business community and generous supporter of the Commonwealth's public institutions of higher education and other philanthropic endeavors, was awarded the 2020 Outstanding Virginian Award. And whereas, presented by the General Assembly's Outstanding Virginian Committee in conjunction with University of Virginia's Frank Batten School of Leadership and Public Policy, the Outstanding Virginian Award is considered the Commonwealth's highest civilian honor and is awarded to citizens who have distinguished themselves through extraordinary civic service. And whereas, William Goodwin received a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering in 1962, followed shortly thereafter by a master's degree from what is now the Darden School of Business at the University of Virginia. And whereas, during his professional career, William Goodwin served as chair of the Riverstone Group, LLC, and CCA Industries, Inc., a diversified holding company that oversaw the Riverstone Group along with its many business interests, including Kiowa Island Golf Resort, the Jefferson Hotel, Sea Pines Resort, Dynamic Brands, Pomponette, CCA Financial, and Service Center Metals. And whereas, from 1996 to 2004 and from 2013 to 2017, William Goodwin served on the Board of Visitors of the University of Virginia, providing valued insights and leadership to his alma mater. In 2013, he was unanimously elected Vice Rector, followed by a 2-year term as Rector from 2015 to 2017. And whereas, beyond his service on the Board of Visitors, William Goodwin also supported the University of Virginia as a former member and chair of the Board of Trustees for the university's Darden School of Business and as chair of the board of the University of Virginia Investment Management Company. And whereas, William Goodwin has given liberally of his time and talents to serve the boards of several local and regional civic organizations. Currently, he is a member of the Board of Directors for the Richmond Performing Arts Corporation, a member and chair of the Go Virginia Region 4 Council, and a member of the Board of Trustees of the Virginia Commonwealth University School of Engineering Foundation. And whereas, Trustee Emeritus and former president of the Medical College of Virginia Foundation, William Goodwin and his wife Alice are renowned for their support of cancer research at medical institutions throughout the country, receiving the Medal of Honor for Philanthropy from the American Cancer Society in 2006. And whereas, prior to the Outstanding Virginian Award, William Goodwin received many accolades in recognition of his professional accomplishments and service, including honorary doctorates from the University of Richmond, the Virginia Commonwealth University, and Johns Hopkins University, as well as the Virginia Tech Alumni Distinguished Achievement Award in 2005. And whereas, serving the Commonwealth in numerous capacities over the years, William Goodwin has touched countless lives and built a legacy of service that is an inspiration to all. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of Virginia that William H. Goodwin, Jr. hereby be commended on his selection as the Outstanding Virginian for 2020, and be it resolved further that the Clerk of the Senate prepare a copy of this resolution for presentation to William H. Goodwin, Jr. as an expression of the Senate of Virginia's profound respect and admiration for his contributions to the Commonwealth.
We can take a picture, sir, Gary. Thank you. Actually, Bill Nelson, you come back up, and Senator as well. Senator Saslaw, you come up as well. Bill, we wanted to just, echo all the words in this resolution and the eloquent words of the senator from Henrico. You and Alice are just two extraordinary people, and could not think of a better person and couple to receive this great award. You have given so much to the Commonwealth of Virginia, and there's a quote that says that the true meaning of life is to plant trees under whose shade you never expect to sit. And you've done that for so many people, whether it's in academia, in our educational institutions, cancer research. You have touched countless lives in Virginia and far beyond. And so we're grateful that you chose to be Virginians. We're grateful for all that you have given, and we applaud you today as the outstanding Virginian of 2020. So God bless you all. Thank you very much. Thank you. And the Senate will be at ease. Those persons not entitled to the privilege of the floor will please retire to the gallery. We will continue now in the morning hour. I'd like to begin by calling on the senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
We are so fortunate today to have several members of the League of Women Voters here with us. This is an important week for them. In 2 days, it will be the 100th anniversary of the League of Women Voters. And in 6 months, it will be 100 years since the Virginia unit joined the national unit. So it is a big celebration time. I'm sure that you all are aware of the work of the League. They have always been working on educating new voters, registering new voters, advocating for better laws for women, children, and families. And they have been doing this for 100 years. As a child, my mother was head of the Montgomery County, Maryland League, and I can remember some of the charges and issues that she brought me along with. There was, of course, always voter registration. There were always, and still are, candidate forums. There were petitions for one man, one vote, which ultimately happened, except now it's morphing into their support of redistricting reform. The League is tireless in their efforts and extremely successful when they put their minds to something. I hope that you give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would our friends and leaders from the League of Women Voters in the gallery please rise if you are able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. Thank you for your tireless advocacy and for lifting up the entirety of our nation and of the Commonwealth of Virginia with all that you do to support women and families and children, and also the right to vote, which is a precious right that makes our democracy work. And I know you must be very proud of the senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howe, who's a stalwart and a great leader and a dear friend. And so congratulations on 100 years of extraordinary work. We look forward to the next 100. And I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our leaders and friends from the League of Women Voters. Senior Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the gallery today, we have a very special guest and his family today. Our pastor, Calvin Duncan, a very dear, close friend of mine and mentor. He and his wife, First Lady Barbara, their kids, Richard, Chelsea, and Azelle, and about 20 members that you brought from our congregation. Pastor Calvin Duncan is a life coach, a motivational speaker, a mentor, and a pastor of Faith and Family Church here in Chesterfield, as well as the founder of Faith and Family Community Center. He has committed his life to serving and encouraging people to reach their God-given potential. But what I really, really love and appreciate about Pastor Calvin Duncan is his life story. He was born with no silver spoon. Adversity struck Calvin at birth with his mother's untimely death at the age of 5 days old. No knowledge of a father to this day, and reared by his aunt in Linden, New Jersey, who passed away when he was a teenager. Yet he never allowed the circumstances of life to deter him from the plan that God had for his life. Now, his name may sound familiar to you. Basketball was his instrument out of the tough urban community in North Jersey that led him to Oak Hill Academy in Virginia. He attended Virginia Commonwealth University, that's a clue, on an athletic scholarship where he was given the nickname the Ambassador. And here it comes. Calvin is a Hall of Famer, and his jersey is retired in the rafters at the Siegel Center. He earned his degree in criminal justice, and in 1984, he accepted Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. In 1985, Calvin Duncan was the 30th player drafted into the NBA and signed with the Chicago Bulls to team up with the great Michael Air Jordan. That said, he opted instead to play with Athletes in Action, Campus Crusade for Christ, and he traveled overseas and played and coached in the NBA Development League. But Mr. President, most recently, he was drafted right here in the Senate of Virginia to play basketball for the Senate of Virginia, and we are going to kick some serious butt. Thank you, Mr. President. With that, I would ask that the Senate provide the warm welcome of the Senate to my wonderful and amazing guests.
I thank the Senator. Would the Reverend Calvin Duncan, Miss Barbara Duncan, your children Richard, Chelsea, and Ezell, and the members of the Faith and Family Church in the gallery please rise if you are able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. Thank you, Reverend Duncan, for that very powerful and wonderful prayer. And we echo the generous and eloquent words of the senior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase, who raves about you, as do so many people here. And we're grateful for your moral leadership in the Commonwealth of Virginia and for all that each of you does to inspire us, to raise us to the higher angels and better angels of our nature. And so we are grateful to every single one of you. We're also deeply grateful in that you're the answer to our prayers, both by giving the prayer today, but by joining our basketball team, because we need both athletic prowess and we need prayer. So you provide both. And so we're grateful for that. You're welcome back here anytime. We wish you nothing but the best. God bless you all. And I would ask everyone to please join me to send the warmest welcome of the Senate to the Reverend Calvin Duncan and guests. Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purpose of the introduction.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Today is Dominion Energy Lobby Day at the Capitol, and we gave them a lot to do yesterday, Mr. President, as we go forward. So I hope that the Senate will give the warm welcome that we extend to our visitors to Dominion Energy leadership that's here with us today.
I thank the Senator. Would the leadership from Dominion Energy in the gallery please rise if you are able? On the side. There you go. Thank you all so much for joining us here today, and thank you for your work all throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia to improve our economy and to support our families and our businesses. We are grateful for all the people you employ and for your advocacy and the work that you do to help us all come to consensus on some very important issues. So we appreciate you. You're always welcome here in the Senate and in the Capitol, and I would ask everyone to please join me and send the warmest welcome of the Senate to our friends and the leaders from Dominion Energy. Senior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D. Steph.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Morning, Senator.
I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
You have the floor.
Mr. President, today we're joined by my constituents from Virginia Beach, the Virginia Beach Men of Faith. Established in 2007, the Men of Faith is an organization of African-American men focused on empowering young African-American men in the Virginia Beach City public school system to become more successful individuals, achieve academically, and demonstrate positive behaviors. Men of Faith assists school personnel to better understand young African-American men and solicit their partnership toward improving academic achievements of these students in the Virginia Beach public school system. Their faith-based partnership with the community serves to present many of these students with strong male role models and the tools they need to be successful in all of their endeavors. Their vision and mission are simple: to ensure success of Virginia Beach young African-American men from adolescence to adulthood, and to mentor, educate, and train youth to grow into responsible adults. Ron Taylor is leading them today. Ron's been a friend for over 20 years and just a great leader for these young men. Mr. President, please offer the Men of Faith the warmest welcome of the Senate.
I thank the Senator. Would Ron Taylor and our young leaders from the Virginia Beach Men of Faith in the gallery please rise if you are able? Thank you all so much for being here today. It is always wonderful to have your presence, and Ron, and to the great men who help support this program and support these young men. We are grateful for your example, for your leadership, and to these young leaders. I had the privilege and pleasure of meeting with you earlier today and also over this past summer, and we are so proud of each and every one of you. Please continue to set your sights very high, dream big, work hard, and extraordinarily good things will happen to you. And remember that poem, If. You'll be able to deal with everything in life, ups and downs, and you will come out triumphant. So we appreciate you. You're welcome back to your capital anytime. And I would ask everybody to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our extraordinary leaders from the Virginia Beach Men of Faith. The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Kiggins.
Mr. President, I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, I'd like to recognize in the gallery today members of the American Association of University Women of Virginia who are visiting us as part of their annual State Lobby Day. The AAUW is the nation's leading voice promoting equity in education for women and girls. Since 1881, AAUW members have examined and taken positions on the fundamental issues of the day, including educational, social, and economic issues. AAUW continues to advance equity for women and girls through advocacy, education, philanthropy, and research. Since its founding, AAUW has awarded more than $100 million in fellowships, grants, and awards. AAUW members have been meeting today with lawmakers on a variety of issues, including gender pay equity. I applaud AAUW Virginia members for their work to change the climate for women and girls and for the important contribution they make today. I'd like to respectfully request you welcome them to the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would our friends and leaders from the American Association of University Women please rise in the gallery if you are able? Thank you all so much for joining us once again here today. It's always wonderful to see you in the Senate and in the Capitol. Thank you for your extraordinary leadership over the course of many years in promoting equity for women and young girls. It is so important, and we echo the generous and eloquent words of the junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Kiggins, and wish you nothing but the best in the future. You're welcome back here anytime. I would ask everyone to please join me in sending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our leaders from the American Association of University Women. Oh, okay. Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Servell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for introduction.
Senator, has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Joining us in the gallery, I think right above my head, although I can't see anymore, is one of my constituents, former state delegate Paul Nichols. Paul lives in Woodbridge area. He's a prominent trial attorney in Prince William County. Good friend, and it's good to see him down here in Richmond today.
Thank the senator. Would our friend, Delegate Paul Nichols, please rise in the gallery? Paul, it's always wonderful to see you. You have many, many friends here in the Senate and the Capitol, and thank you for your leadership and extraordinary work as a trial attorney. It's legendary here in the state, and we appreciate all you do to make us a better Commonwealth. I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to Delegate Paul Nichols. Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for a second introduction.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
My group has just arrived. Joining us today in the gallery are students from Virginia 21, representing colleges and universities from all across the Commonwealth. Virginia 21 is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization that empowers college students and young Virginians to be engaged citizens and advocates for issues important to them and to Virginia's future. They work to improve attainment and close equity gaps in higher education, promote civic engagement, develop young leaders, and ensure an economically prosperous future for the Commonwealth. With chapters all across Virginia and on various campuses, Virginia 21 has engaged thousands of young people in the political process since it was founded in 2001. It's one of the most successful advocacy groups for college students in the country, and I hope you'll give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would our friends and leaders from Virginia 21 in the gallery please rise if you are able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today and for your constant presence here in your capital. We are so proud of every single one of you and the colleges and universities and community colleges that each of you represents. We are all biased here, but we know that we have the best students in the entire country right here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and some of them are right here in front of us today in the Senate. So we are grateful to you. Continue your tremendous work. You have nothing but success in the future. You also have a great executive director who's one heck of a ball player, and hopefully will play on our team as well. I would ask everybody to please join me and extend the warmest welcome of the Senate to our leaders from Virginia 21. Do any other senators wish to be recognized? Is there any other business to come in the morning hour? Seeing none, the clerk will call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Wednesday, February 12th, 2020. Uncontested calendar, House bills on third reading.
Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I move that all House bills on third reading on the uncontested calendar, that's just pages 1 and 2, House Bill 1187 through 515, that they be advanced to their final passage in a block after the adoption of any amendments thereto. And any senator desiring to move a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. And I just want to remind everybody that House bills are amendable on the third reading.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall House bills on the uncontested calendar third reading, pages 1 through 2, House Bill 1187 through House Bill 515, be placed upon their final passage in a block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, with the understanding that any senator desiring a bill be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. Clerk will read the number of the bills.
House Bill 1187, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services.
Mr. President, I move that House Bill 187 be removed from the block and passed by for the day.
Without objection, House Bill 1187 will be removed from the block and go by for the day.
House Bill 106, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Mr. President.
Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Can House Bill 106 please come out of the block?
Without objection, House Bill 106 will be removed from the block.
House Bill 370, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 515, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Question is, shall the House bills pass in a block? That is all bills except for House Bills 1187 and 106. All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The bills in the block pass.
Regular calendar, House bills on third, returning to page 2, House Bill 106.
Senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. House Bill 106 provides that an ordinance, that a locality can have an ordinance that provides, that requires buildings to have a visible numbering and may include a civil penalty not to exceed $100 for a violation that has not been corrected by the violator within 15 days of notice of such violation. The civil penalties assessed under this provision shall be paid into the treasury of the locality where the violation occurred. I move the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 106? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 106 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 25, noes 12.
Ayes 25, noes 12. House Bill 106 passes.
Mr. President.
Senior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D-Staff.
Having voted on the preliminary side in which we just passed House Bill 106, if we could please reconsider that vote.
Question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 106 passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The motion is agreed to. Senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis.
Mr. President, having previously explained the bill, I move the bill pass.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 106 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk close the roll.
Ayes 25, noes 14.
Ayes 25, noes 14. House Bill 106 passes.
Regular calendar. House bills on third reading. House Bill 150, a bill relating to derelict residential buildings, civil penalty, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis.
Mr. President, I will yield to the senator from Arlington.
Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that House Bill 150 pass. And speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill has to do with the repair or removal of derelict buildings. And what it does is, after a certain notice to the homeowner that the residential property needs to be repaired, a civil penalty would be applied, and it would be $500 per month until such time as the owner has submitted a plan to repair the building, but the applied fee would not exceed the cost of demolishing the building. So the committee voted for it, as you can see, 8-6, and I ask that the bill pass. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator. The Senate will briefly be at ease. The Senate is in order. So right now we're considering House Bill 150. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding that bill? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 150 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 19, noes 21.
Ayes 19, noes 21. House Bill 150 fails.
House Bill 166, a bill relating to notice by localities, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis.
Mr. President, I'll yield to the senior senator from Virginia Beach.
Senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D. Steph.
Mr. President, House Bill 166 is a very simple bill. It passed this body, I believe it was last week. It's specifically in Planning District 23, Hampton Roads. And what this bill does, Mr. President, is if the locality pays the newspaper, tries to announce something in the newspaper 4 weeks before or 30 days prior to it being put in the newspaper and before the meeting, and then it doesn't actually make it in the paper by no fault of the locality, again, by no fault of the locality, then the next local newspaper that comes out, the notice will be put in that, and then it's used to move forward so they can continue on with their meetings. With that, Mr. President, I move this bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howe.
Will the senator yield for a question?
Will the senator yield?
Happy to, Mr. President.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
Is this bill now identical to yours that we passed?
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, if you could tell the gentle lady that yes, it actually is the exact same. We did conform and report this.
I thank you.
Thanks, Senator. What purpose is Senator from Roanoke County? Senator Suderline rise.
Mr. President, I was having an issue with being able to read the bill online, and I had the exact same question as the Senator from Northern Fairfax. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 166? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 166 pass? All in favor of the motion record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 32, noes 8.
Ayes 32, noes 8. House Bill 166 passes.
House Bill 406, a bill relating to comparative report of local government revenues and expenditures, filing date.
Senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, House Bill 406 changes the annual deadline for local submittal of the comparative report of local government revenue and expenditures from November 30th to December 15th, and the annual deadline for the statement to the Auditor of Public Accounts showing in detail the total and per capita revenues and expenditures of all localities for the preceding fiscal year from January 31st to February 15th. The patron indicated in his testimony before the committee that it was the sense that more time was needed given the end of the year to adequately prepare the reports and submit them. And so with that being said, Mr. President, I move the House Bill 406 pass.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 406? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 406 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, no 0.
Ayes 37, no 0. House Bill 406 passes.
House Bill 505, a bill relating to Board of Zoning Appeals, writ of certiorari.
Mr. President.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Apologies to the gentleman. May that bill go by for the day in anticipation of an amendment to be offered perhaps tomorrow?
Without objection, Mr.
Without objection, House Bill 505 will go by for the day.
House Bill
Mr. President.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Serville.
Thank you. Having voted on the prevailing side by which we passed House Bill 406, I move that we reconsider that vote so we can capture a vote.
Question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 406 passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The motion is agreed to. Senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis.
Having previously explained the bill, I move the bill pass.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 406 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no zero.
Ayes 40, no zero. House Bill 406 passes.
House Bill 549, a bill relating to cutting of overgrown vegetation, local authority.
Senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis.
Reported from the Committee on Local Government with an amendment.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is adopted. Senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis.
Mr. President, the House Bill 549 is identical to the senator from Hampton's Senate Bill 340, which passed this House 33-7, I believe, and deals with the cutting of overgrown vegetation, shrubs, and trees, and an ordinance requiring certain landowners to cut grass, weeds, and other foreign growth on certain property. So with that, I'd move the bill pass.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 549? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 549 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? All the senators voted. Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 31, noes 9.
Ayes 31, noes 9. House Bill 549 passes.
House Bill 585, bill relating to the Comprehensive Plan, Transit-Oriented Development. Reported from the Committee on Local Government with an amendment.
Senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is adopted. Senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis.
Mr. President, has originally introduced the bill required that a city with a population greater than 20,000 and each county with a population greater than 100,000 incorporate into the next and all subsequent reviews of its comprehensive plan strategies to promote transit-oriented development for the purpose of reducing greenhouse gas emissions through coordinated transportation, housing, and land use planning. The committee amendment, Mr. President, on line 13 changed shall incorporate to shall consider incorporating, and thereby changing the impact of the bill. So with that change, with that amendment, Mr. President, I move the bill pass.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 585? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 585 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 23, no 17.
Ayes 23, no 17. House Bill 585 passes.
Mr. President.
Senior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D-Steph.
Having voted on the prevailing side in which we passed House Bill 166, I'd like to reconsider that vote.
Question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 166 passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. House Bill 166. Actually, the motion is agreed to.
Mr. President.
Senior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator
I'd like to take House Bill 166 by for the day. There seems to be one small discrepancy that we're going to fix in this.
Without objection, House Bill 166 will go by for the day. The Senate will briefly be at ease. Those persons not entitled to the privilege of the floor will please retire to the gallery. Senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis.
Mr. President, having voted on the prevailing side by which we failed to pass House Bill 150, I move that we reconsider that vote.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 150 failed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The motion is agreed to. Senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis.
Mr. President, having previously considered, the bill having been previously, actually, Mr. President, I think I'll yield to the senator from Arlington.
All right, Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Having previously explained this bill, I move that House Bill 150 pass.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 150 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 19, noes 19, Rule 36-2.
Ayes 19, noes 19, Rule 36-2. Chair votes aye. House Bill 150 passes. Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. Chairman, I'd inquire the clerk, is it possible that we have finished the calendar before midnight?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do any senators wish to be recognized? For what purpose, Senator from Lynchburg? I'm sorry. What purpose, Senator from James City County? Senator Norman, rise.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I rise on a point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, I often reflect on what we do here in the Senate of Virginia is like a P3 situation, that we have a public-private partnership, and our partnership is with the general public on what we do. But as I think about the process that we have, it also brings up a P3 in my mind, and it's a process, it's a protocol, and the partisan politics. And I would like to make a couple observations about the process, irrespective of any political overtones. You know, as I reflected back on yesterday and into the early morning hours, I would have to say it was not one of my fondest days of recollection, and I am not certain that it was one of the great days of the performance of the Senate, and I say that without directing my comments at anyone or any group of individuals. I think we can do extraordinarily better on the process. And let me share just a couple of observations, which I'm sure most of you will not take to heart. But Senator Saslaw and I have been the majority and the minority leaders of the Senate of Virginia more than anyone in the history of Virginia. And as we have transitioned back and forth, I think we have always had some expectations that there might be some transition hiccups. But I think it starts much earlier in that. And one of the first comments I would make would deal with the number of bills that have been filed. It would be my recommendation as we look towards 2021 that a cap be put on the number of bills that any individual senator can introduce. I appreciate that 39 individuals in here are infinitely more insightful. I am not mentioning any names, and I'm not even looking that way. But I realize that there's some extraordinarily bright people in here with a fertile imagination on it. And I'm also mindful of the political realities that we've come through a very contentious political cycle and promises have been made. But I would suggest to you there is no reason that any senator should submit 40, 50, or 60 bills. And so that's one thing we should give some thought to. And it's not just about the senators. The Department of Legislative Services is working 60 to 90 hours a week over the holidays to try to keep up with this. And they are down 4 attorneys. They are down 4 attorneys. And so it is eating up an enormous amount of their time, but brings in a fatigue factor, which is not a good thing. So that is one thought that I would suggest. A second frustration that I have observed is the subcommittee process. We created the chairpersons this year created a number of subcommittees, and some of them worked very hard to try to separate the wheat from the chaff on this. But then we end up confronting the same bills in just a very modest reconstructed format again, and the time and energy of the subcommittees are wasted. And that's not in all instances, but I think we can do much better on that. I would further say that bills come before the full committee, and I appreciate this is difficult. It is difficult. For instance, we get 3 bills on small business loans that are not consistent, not comported, but directly and challenging with one another on the policy issue. And that's not a reflection on any of the patrons. The subcommittee and the committees need to make a decision. Now, I respect that I am an oddity in this body, because when my dad sent me to VMI, he thought he was sending me to a reform school. And he was hopeful that my behavior would be much better after 4 years. You cannot imagine how disappointed he was on graduation day on it. But one of the things that was instilled in our curriculum activity at VMI is one word, and that is discipline. And I think we as a body need to exercise some discipline through the process and make those hard decisions on deciding which bill as a matter of policy are we going to report to the floor, rather than sending us 3 conflicting bills and trying to sort it out on the floor of the Senate. And we spent almost 30 minutes yesterday in pause as we tried to straighten out and comport 2 conflicting bills that both of the patrons wanted. And I say that with all due respect. That is something that should have been worked out before we got to the floor of the Senate. I would further say that we can have that problem in committee. I had been working with the senator from Portsmouth on casino issues for several years, and we have enjoyed a very good partnership on that. And thinking that we understand the complexity of one of the most significant policy decisions that we are making in Virginia, and to sit down at the committee and get slapped with 2 or 3 amendments in the nature of substitute that are 65 pages long is a little challenging. I appreciate that everyone in here has taken the speed read course, but I don't read that quick. And speaking of substitutes and amendments in the nature of the substitute, Mr. President, I don't think in the 29 years that I have been here, I have ever seen so many substitutes or amendments in the nature of the substitute. And there could be a number of factors to that, but they're coming in at the 11th hour. And in fact, it is very difficult to digest in the last day or 2 of a session when they're coming through with so many. And one of them yesterday was 45 pages long, and no disrespect. Sometimes even the patron doesn't have a thorough and exhaustive knowledge of it. And that's not a criticism of the patron. It's just because of the way things are moving. And I respect. Part of that may be the burden that is on DLS, because they're getting hit with so many amendments and substitutes where senators are trying to overcome objections that have been raised to their bill by a recrafting of it. I felt terrible for those people sitting up there last night. To 1 o'clock in the morning, trying to just observe what their work product was and how it was going to be handled. I would further say that I think in committees we need to exercise some individual discipline. There are some very contentious bills that have come before us, and some of them have a partisan fever to it, and I say that with absolute respect. But I remember years ago sitting in House Criminal Sub at 2 a.m. in the morning when Delegate Cranwell looked at Senator Stolley and I said at 2 o'clock in the morning, he said, "We're not going to hear your bill." Been sitting there since 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. to be told they're not going to hear a bill. And, you know, some of you may not appreciate it. This whole political legislative process to me is business. It is business. It is not personal with me. And I remember Delegate Cranwell came up and said, "Well, Senator Norman, I know you're really pissed." And I said, "No, sir, I'm not. I don't bring anything to Richmond that I have to take home." And some of us get so invested in what we are doing, thinking we're going to change the rotation of the axis of the earth with our creative legislation, that we lose our objectivity. I think when a bill is coming before committee, even if a chairperson is presenting their bill, they need to always give the opposition an opportunity to be heard. And we had several instances where only the proponents were heard and the oppositions were not. The second observation I made is don't get so invested in your legislation that you want to argue with every opponent who speaks against your bill. It protracts out what is going on. I would say to you that I am very hopeful, and I offer all of this on a constructive basis because we really need to do better. And I will say this, I did go back and look, and I'm hoping it's just a legislative maturation process we are going through. Last year on crossover day, we adjourned at 2:51 in the afternoon. The year before, we adjourned at 4:16 in the afternoon. And that's not directed at anybody individual, so don't get your feelings hurt. It's because of the process was running closer to the way it was designed. And we need to make an improvement on it, and I expect, and I haven't counted them, but I bet there is a tsunami of bills out there from the House. And I expect, regardless of your political persuasions, that we probably are going to find some commonality in not embracing some of those creative bills that have come from the House. The last thing, Mr. President, and then I'll be quiet, much to the delight of all of you. I think that there are some things that we can do on the floor that are dealing with protocol, and that is some of us on both sides of the aisle during the course of discussions have gotten rather abrupt, if not curt. And the importance of that is whether it starts on this side or it starts on that side, you can well expect that someone is going to get offended and be tweaked and feel like they have to respond. And I think that the overall attitude of this is business, let's don't make it personal, and let's don't be acrimonious would help a great deal. The last thing I would say is what we as a group, and I'm talking about those in the Senate Republican caucus and the the Senate Democratic caucus are guilty of. We usually are not starting until 12:20. That is not Mr. President's fault. It is the fact that we meander in at 10 after or so, we go and get in the food line, and you say, well, what difference does it make? If we save 20 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, that is 100 minutes a week. And you know what? We'd have gotten out before midnight last night. And so I would just say, and I have spoken with the ladies and gentlemen on my side, and Mr. President, we are committed to be here in our seats by 12:05 at the latest. And let's see if we can't pick up that additional time and move things along, because we've got more bills to deal with than we have before. So, Mr. President and ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I know what I've said will not change a thing, but it will make me sleep a little better tonight as I'm sipping on my bubblegum vodka. And I do think we can do better. I think that we're all committed to that without regard to our political persuasions. And I'm not apologizing for trespassing on your time, because I firmly believe what I've said.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake, rise?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purpose of point of personal privilege and an announcement.
Senator's the floor.
Mr. President, I rise today to announce the formation of the Virginia YMCA Legislative Caucus, co-chaired by Jennifer McClellan and myself, and then from the House of Delegates, Jeff Bourne and Delegate Will Moorfield. The Virginia Alliance of YMCAs is comprised of 27 independent Ys serving 100 communities throughout the Commonwealth. The Virginia YMCA Legislative Caucus is a bicameral, bipartisan group of state legislators dedicated to educating and sharing information on the YMCA's mission, community impact, and expertise on youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. The YMCA believes that lasting personal and social change can only come about when we all work together to invest in our kids, our health, and our neighbors. As charities, YMCAs across Virginia exist to strengthen their communities and every day and work to ensure that everyone, regardless of age, income, or background, has the opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive. In 2018, the Y served over 1 million Virginians. It is one of the largest providers for after-school child care in the Commonwealth, and 190,000 children and youth participated in enrichment programs. $21 million of financial assistance was provided to ensure anyone who wants to be can be a member of the Y community. 28,700 volunteers were engaged, giving $22 million in time supporting community programs. So, Mr. President, I invite any senator who would like to join the caucus to do so. Also, everyone, regardless of whether you join the caucus or not, you are invited to the YMCA legislative reception to be held tonight at the Hilton Hotel at 5:30 until 6:15 p.m. And if you come at 6 p.m., you'll get recognized by the YMCA. So please come see us at the Y, 5:30 tonight at the Hilton. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. Senator, you know it's very fun to stay there, right?
I heard somebody even might have done a song about that.
You want
and I don't know if was basketball invented at the YMCA? They should tell Durham. That is all. Did anybody see Facebook about the New Hampshire primaries last night, about what happened to Joe Biden, about the Village People and the song YMCA?
No,
I don't have anything to say about it, but take
I thank the senator. For what person, Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an announcement.
Senator, is the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the body, the minority leader reminded us of the need to do better. I think he's correct. We have not beaten the House in basketball since 2014. Now, y'all may know that within this chamber we are adversaries, but of course the enemy is down the hall. And it's been 6 years since we have defeated the enemy. Now, much like Gideon in the Bible, I don't have a lot of folks to work with, okay? And unfortunately, I've had to suspend Senator McPike for disciplinary reasons, but I don't want to get into that. But the bottom line is I need every man or woman that can participate. Please check in as your captain. Let me know. I want to thank Senator Chase for bringing Pastor Duncan to our attention. He is going to be an absolute addition. I know Senator Locke is combing the courts of Hampton as we speak to help me find somebody. But if you do have somebody on your staff that likes to play basketball and is reasonably athletic, please check in with me. We do have practices on Tuesday night. And I do need actual senators to play. That is part of the rules, unfortunately. So, again, the game itself will be February 20. As always, proceeds will benefit Massey Cancer Center. I'm not prepared to make my pitch for money, but you know what's coming in a couple days, and so I will be making that as a separate pitch. But please, no matter who wins or loses on this floor, let's please win in basketball this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Senator, for what purpose does the senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw, rise?
Point of personal privilege.
Senator, the floor.
A lot of what we heard from Senator Norman, I agree with. But I think the one thing that may be overlooked by everybody, think back just last night as an example, or yesterday. How many bills, and I don't know, you can get me an answer by tomorrow, it seemed to me that there were probably somewhere between 20 and 35 bills, just as a guess, that passed by a vote of 21 to 19. Every single one of those bills, every last one of them, would have never made it out of committee until this year. Not a single one of them would have got out of committee. And I think if you go back and you look at some of these things, the minimum wage, the gun bills, a million things that have never gotten out of committee, okay, all of a sudden are on the floor. And these bills took up quite a bit of debate time. And I would imagine that if you take all the 21 to 19 votes that have been made over the last 4.5 weeks, 5 weeks, my guess would be that we probably would have been getting out of here. We definitely wouldn't have gotten out at 1 in the morning as we did last night. We'd have probably gotten out at 9 or 10, even if that. And you can bet, what I've observed, and I've remarked about this to Senator Norman, is, so many of the sessions that we've had this year have been, we get out at 3:30, 4 o'clock, and a lot of that is because these bills that are coming out and passing 21 to 19 never made it out before. And that accounts for a lot of it. And I'm afraid to look at what's coming from the other end of this building. And the senator is right. I mean, we might exercise a little more discipline in committee because some of these bills have already been heard, and I don't know if they need to be reheard, but that answers, it's not the total answer, but it accounts for a fair amount of the time that we've been spending on the floor this year. These bills have never gotten out of committee. Almost the same amount have been put in, but we never saw them here, so we got out a lot earlier. That's not the case anymore. So anyway, but we can do better, no question about it. And I might have been a little sterner than I should have been in a response to a couple senators last night, and for that I would apologize to them. But we were here an awful long time, and you develop a different point of view on things when these are bills that are pent up and have not gotten out for a while. But I can tell you there is room for improvement. Make no mistake about it, and we're going to try to do just that. But I wanted people to give thought to the fact that all of these 21-19 votes would not have occurred last year because these bills never would have made it out of committee. Thank you, Mr. President and members.
Thank you. Senator, what purpose does the senior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purpose of a personal privilege.
Senator, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate so much the sentiments of Senator Norman and wanted to echo some of those same comments. I received a letter from a chair, and I won't mention names, about reasons for not docketing bills this year. And I just really wanted to go back to the heart of why I ran for office, and that was to bring greater transparency to government. A lot of people feel very disconnected from their government. They don't understand how it works. They don't understand how to go look for certain bills. And my desire when I first ran for office was to bring greater transparency to government in general and to make it more user-friendly. And my first year in office was the co-founder of the Transparency Caucus with Delegate Mark Levine, and just so appreciate everyone in this body supporting our efforts to make this place more transparent and bring more light here to the General Assembly. And I thank all of you for being a partner on that, because as you all know, we can't do any of that alone. But one of the things that I feel is important is accountability. And in receiving this letter, one of the things that really hurt my heart is that I would never, ever want to make a legislator feel like they were personally coming under attack. And if that is the case, I apologize, because that is never the intent. My heart is to make sure that the folks back home know what pieces of legislation that we introduce, that we sponsor, how we vote on pieces of legislation. And this was a very big year for people back in my district and myself who hold the Second Amendment very near and dear to our hearts. Many of us feel that is the foundation of every other freedom that we hold, our religious freedoms, our First Amendment. And we really felt like those were all at stake this year. And just coming off an election year, I know that stress was high among all of us. And what I will tell you, I know that there are some of you who maybe don't have Facebook accounts. There are many of us that do have Facebook accounts. And I just want to assure the members that I personally, as a legislator, would never put your personal information, contact information on a Facebook page. It's never happened. Any information that has been put on Facebook has been your office information, any information that is publicly available through virginiageneralassembly.gov, be it your district contact information, any photos. It is all public and available to the people that you and I represent. And I think it's important that we as legislators remember that we work for our district. And that we represent our district, and they're holding us accountable, and that we should expect to receive phone calls from people in our district and others across the state, because the policies that we're putting forward, as you all know, affect their daily lives and ours as well. And I feel like they should have a say, but many times they don't know where to go. They don't know where to turn. And so many of them are familiar with social media, like Facebook. And so my team has taken advantage of this new social media in order to make that information more easily accessible. And so that is my heart. It is never to hurt or intimidate or make any legislator feel threatened. And for that, I apologize if you have felt that way at any way. But I would also say that we owe it to each other, to Senator Norman's point, to be respectful and respect that we may have individual differences on ideology and political beliefs and differences, and it may not be represented in the future by a two-party system or even a two-party caucus. And so I know that we've made modifications to the Senate rules this year saying that you have to be affiliated or associated with the caucus. And, I really just question that going forward. Is that something that we're going to require members to do, that you have to be a part of a caucus, which, if we're honest, requires the paying of caucus dues, which are in excess of $10,000 or more when we make $18,000 a year, if that is reasonable. Just as an everyday average person, I know many of you are attorneys and doctors. I am not. I'm just an everyday, ordinary mom, business owner from Chesterfield County. And this sometimes can present challenges for just ordinary people that do want to run for office. And so, maybe going forward, we take a look at the caucus system. We look at what I feel is what we've created, incidentally, accidentally or not, is a pay-to-play system that really needs to be revisited. And I just leave you on that note. Understand my heart is not to be a difficult, troublesome senator from Chesterfield County, but really just to challenge maybe some of the things that we haven't considered or taken into account and as technology grows and develops. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. For what purpose, Senator from Hampton, Senator Locke, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise on a point of personal privilege.
Senator, has the floor.
Mr. President, for these two members and those members on that side of the aisle, I don't believe in double standards. And I would like to say that from this point forward, those of us would try to be here at noon, because I remember times when we've had to sit here and wait past noon. But from this point forward, we will endeavor to be here at noon. Also, Mr. President, this is the first year that I have been fearful for my life and for the lives of members of the Democratic Caucus because of Facebook. I no longer go onto my Facebook account because of comments that might be there. And one of our members has had her life threatened with, I will shoot you in the head. Offices being called with die B word and people hanging up as a result of information that's being put out there on members of this caucus. And that's unacceptable. And as a result of someone else's actions. So it isn't necessarily anyone retaliating against someone, but when you put an individual's life in danger by acting in a certain way, and you put someone's family or someone's staff member in a dangerous situation, that's unacceptable. And I'm sorry, that kind of behavior is unacceptable. Simply because we may disagree on a political issue. That's going to happen in a political environment where we disagree. But it's okay to disagree without being disagreeable. That's the nature of politics. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Senator. For what purpose, Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain, rise?
Mr. President, I rise for a brief point of personal privilege.
Senator, has the floor.
Mr. President, last thing in the world I intended to do was stand up and say anything today, but I feel motivated to do so by certain comments that have been made. First of all, Facebook is hardly a new technology. We all know it's available, and we can all look at what's on Facebook. And we all know what words we use. Now, I can say I have never felt threatened. I've never felt intimidated. I've never felt endangered, and I certainly respect the subjective beliefs of those who may have. But I have been called a liar on Facebook, and it doesn't intimidate me. It doesn't hurt me to be called a liar. It's a bit disappointing, and I think that some other people in this chamber have been insulted and personally attacked on Facebook, and it's just not the way that I like to think that we as a member of a collegial body deal with one another. Second, I also cannot allow this suggestion that we have a pay-to-play system on either side of the aisle in here to go unrefuted. Now, the Democratic caucus, I assume, has a caucus structure. I assume you do. I assume that you have some expectations from, yeah, I know. loosely organized as well. But I assume that Democrat caucus expects some contribution from their members to help with the administration of their caucus, as do we. I've been a member of the Republican caucus for 16 years, 17 years, I suppose now. Members have come and gone, and we've had some pretty doggone good fights over the time that I've been here. When I was first here, a couple of members may recall those days. Some of you may call them glory days. For some of us, they were a little bit different. We had a Republican caucus back then, but it only met, I think, once, maybe twice during the year. And there were a handful of us who were members of the caucus, and I guess we're all members of the caucus, but there was another caucus. But, you know, we patched things up, gotten back together, but we've always had a caucus. And I can tell you, I didn't pay any dues to the caucus back then, but nobody threw me out. I can tell you, over the course of the years, we've had more than one member who has been recalcitrant, who has not embraced maybe some of the financial expectations that we've had for supporting our operations. Nobody in the 17 years that I've been involved has ever been asked to leave our caucus or been expelled or been deprived the opportunity to have a voice in what we do as a consequence of their refusal to contribute to the operations. And that goes for right now. So, you know, we all make personal choices. And some of those choices, you got to live with and you got to own. They're your choices. They're not ours. And you can't just look around and point your finger and blame everybody else for the choices that you make. You got to own it. It's yours, not mine.
What purpose, Senator from Eastern Fairfax? Senator Surville, rise.
So a quick point of personal privilege.
Senator's the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, ladies and gentlemen, this is my, I think, 11th session, although my fifth in this body. And there's some things I like about this body that are different than occurred down the hall. And one of which is we actually debate in this chamber, which I think is a lot of why we were here so late the other day. Down the hall, at least Speaker Howell used to give us maybe 30 to 45 minutes on bigger issues, 15 on others. I hear down there now they're doing like 20, 25, something like that per bill. So if you want to know why they finished so quick on some of the things that took us so long, it's because they don't like talking to each other. So I appreciate the debate we have. I think it's important. I think it also helps us to get to better results than they do. And we also, another thing we do here that they don't do is they just don't do floor subs and floor amendments. They just don't do that. And I know Madam Clerk, who's not here, maybe she's watching at home, I know she was going nuts with all the amendments that were out there yesterday, but I think it's important that we get things right instead of sending things back and forth from committee constantly, which is how things work over there. And I think that's partly why things took so long, is we're doing some really big stuff this session. And to get it right, to put things in a proper posture before they go down there, we had to get it right. And so I think things were slowed down some by some of those things we see. And they just don't do that over there. And we're going to see some bills, I think, in the next 3 weeks that reflect that. And personally, I think that's a good thing, having lived in both systems. Number two, I recognize that I keep hearing comments about the number of bills, and I appreciate that. So I want everybody to know I went and did a calculation. The average member in the Senate carries 30 bills. There are 10 of us that have introduced 39 or more.
You're at 63.
I know what I'm at. I would also note, I would also just and I know and I appreciate there's a lot of folks that feel busy here, but some of us, I'm on 6 committees, okay? There's one member here who's on 14. There's several that are on 12. And, you know, I appreciate the longer you're here, the more seniority you get, the more committees you're on, the more work you have. I mean, I don't get to play in the budget sandbox. I know how much work that is, and I'm sure it's a lot of stress. But for those of us that don't play in that sandbox, there's a different sandbox. It's called legislation, right? And just remember that there are only 20, at least in the majority caucus, there's only 21 of us There's 55 down the hall, right? And all of us are receiving an extraordinary amount of pressure to get things done, given what's happened politically for the first time in 20 years in this Commonwealth, where we have an alignment, a political alignment that we haven't seen since 1990, whatever it is, 98 or 99. 95, right. And so we have an extraordinary amount of pressure is being put to get things into the system. And when you only have 21 people to do it versus 55, it's inevitably going to result in people carrying larger numbers. And I know that creates stress for people who are busy or with committees, but that's sort of the reality of the volume we're trying to process just from the public. So I would just ask everybody to keep that in mind. I think in some ways this session is historic in a lot of ways, and that's partly why you're seeing the kinds of volumes you're seeing. And, I think we'll cope with it, and we'll continue to. The last thing I'll say is, from my perspective, both being a litigator, which I know the minority leader is also a litigator, the whole point of having process is so things don't get personal, right? And the whole point of speaking through Mr. President and not talking at each other is so things don't get personal. And the whole point of having a process in committee where we make sure that, the patron speaks and then we do, testimony from the public and all that kind of stuff is to make sure we don't miss things. And I know everybody's adjusting to the new reality, but I think everybody would be well served if, when we stood up, we said why we were rising to speak. If we spoke through the chair, if we asked people to yield, we're not talking back and forth across the room. If we all followed process, I think all this would probably go a lot smoother. And I think, I think everybody's trying, but we're at 10 o'clock at night, you kind of lose track of process sometimes. But anyways, I have faith in the body, I have faith in the members, and I think we'll get through this. But I'm really looking forward to having to talk to the guys down the hall over the next 3 weeks. So, in any event, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. For what purpose is Senator from Northwestern Fairfax? Senator Boysko, rise.
Thank you, Mr. President, I rise for an introduction.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, we have with us today the students from Al-Fadi Academy in Herndon. They've had the opportunity to listen to us really address some of the big problems that we're having as human beings getting along. That's one of the things that the Al-Fadi Community School does, actually. They practice good conduct through including honesty, humility, forgiveness, generosity, kindness, fairness, compassion, and empathy. And they remind one another that through these lessons, interactions, and activities and personal relationships, they will grow into be good, strong, caring adults who are vibrant. The Al-Fadi community is a Muslim school. They come visit us every single year. I have known the founder for over a decade, and she and I work together on a number of community activities to try to make our community a better place. It's my pleasure, and I ask you to give the students and their teachers a very warm Senate welcome. Thank you.
I thank the Senator. Would our friends and young leaders from the Al-Fadi Academy in the gallery please rise if you are able? Thank you all so much for joining us once again this year. Thank you for coming to your Senate and to your Capitol. We're always grateful to see you. I know the Senator from Northwestern Fairfax in particular is very happy to see you. Thank you for your leadership. And to our young leaders, we are very proud of every single one of you and know you will do great things in your lives if you hold fast to all that you're learning at that great academy around inclusion and honesty and fairness and compassion and empathy. Really great values. So we appreciate you all. Look forward to wonderful things in your futures. And I would ask everybody to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our friends and young leaders from the Al-Fadi Academy. What purpose is Senator from Roanoke County? Senator Suderline, rise.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for a brief point of personal privilege and for a motion.
Senator's the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I enjoyed being here for 14 hours yesterday, not just because it's a beautiful Capitol, but because it's also the set of one of my favorite movies and one of the best films of the last decade, Lincoln. And it seems that I can't ever watch that film enough. It's so fantastic, telling the story of the final months of Lincoln's life, his work to get the 13th Amendment through Congress, which politics hasn't really changed all that much in the last 150 years. Just the mixture of pragmatism and principle on display there. And I love seeing our Capitol set in there. Today's a very special day. It's the anniversary of our 16th president's birth. And there's not a lot I can tell you all about him that you don't already know, because he lived such a life that was so significant. So I just want to share the final comments of his second inaugural, which he gave just a few months before the end of his life. With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right, let us strive to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish the just and lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations. And Mr. President, I hope that the Senate will agree to adjourn today in memory and honor of the 16th President, Abraham Lincoln.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be recognized for purposes of a point of privilege or an announcement? Seeing none, the clerk report any announcements on the desk.
Today, Wednesday, February 12th, the Committee on General Laws and Technology will meet 1/2 hour after adjournment in Senate Room 3 in the Capitol. The Committee on the Judiciary will meet 1/2 hour after adjournment in Senate Room A, Pocahontas. The Finance and Appropriations Working Group on Transportation will meet at 4:00 p.m. in Senate Subcommittee Room Number 1, 5th floor, Pocahontas. Senators Barker, Saslaw, Hanger, Newman, Deeds, Marsden, and McClellan. The Virginia Legislative Black Caucus will meet at 5:00 p.m. in House Subcommittee Room 300B, 3rd floor, Pocahontas. Tomorrow, Thursday, February 13th, the Hampton Roads Caucus will meet at 7:30 a.m. in Senate Subcommittee Room 1, 5th floor, Pocahontas. The Committee on Education and Health will meet at 8:00 a.m. in Senate Room A, Pocahontas. The Democratic Caucus will meet at 11:30 in Senate Room 1 in the Capitol. The Republican Caucus will meet at 11:30 in Senate Room 2 in the Capitol.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? Seeing none, call the Senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 12 noon tomorrow. And when we do, we'll do so in honor of the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate stand adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow? And that when we so adjourn, we do so in the honor and memory of President Abraham Lincoln. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate stands adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow in honor and memory of President Abraham Lincoln.